We are ready as soon as 6 gets here, Rick.
Thank you. All right, then, if the members of the committee could come on screen, we can start at precisely 6 o'clock. And that makes it 6 o'clock. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Committee of Adjustment for the September the 7th, 2021. This is a virtual meeting, and as such, as usual, all rules of conduct, Planning Act, Municipal Act, etc., all apply to this meeting as if it was held in person. If we have any interruption of the internet connectivity for any member or senior staff member, we shall pause the meeting to allow them to reconnect, but we'll continue after a few minutes if we still have quorum. With that, and I should note that Penny Porter has indicated her absence previously for this meeting. With that call to order, then we shall move to the adoption of the agenda. Is there anything to add to the agenda this evening? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please? And from Nathan, seconded by Ron. And any comment? I'll call the question. All those in order, all those in favor, please raise a hand. Motion is carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? And Ron, is that a hand or? Okay, just adjusting your screen. That's fine. And so if there's no disclosure, we'll move on to the approval of the Committee of Adjustment minutes from August the 3rd. We have the minutes before us. Are there any noted errors or omissions? Anyone? Then can I get a motion to approve those minutes? I'll take Jim, seconded by Ron. Thank you. Any comment? I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Any opposed? Motion is carried. So we come to our public meeting. First up, 5.1 is D13007 2021 with regard to Front Road and Sarah Flint. And we have Mr. Voss here to describe it to us. And so please go ahead with your presentation, Peter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the purpose of this report is to present a minor variance application for the property located on the north side of Front Road on Amherst Island. It's addressed as 3900 Front Road, and it's east of Stella and the ferry terminal. The applicant, Sarah Flint, is requesting reduction in the top of bank setback to allow for the build of a new detached residential dwelling. The property is relatively flat near the roadside and largely vacant except for an old farm silo that's closer to the road. The silo is a remnant of an old farm operation that existed prior to the lots originally being severed several years ago. The land then drops considerably toward the shoreline of Lake Ontario and contains a rocky slope with some woodlands mixed in. The development is being proposed on the upland area beyond the top of bank of that rocky slope, and the owners plan to remove the silo. In reviewing a minor variance application, committee is aware that we must have regard for the provincial policy statement, ensure that the proposal meets the 4 tests of the Planning Act, considering the official plan, zoning bylaw, whether it's a desirable use of the land and structure, and whether the proposal is considered minor in nature. In regard to the provincial policy statement, the proposed development is not expected to detract from the residential use of the property, nor the neighboring properties, and that also safety concerns related to the road drainage and erosion hazards associated with the shoreline have also been considered. Staff are therefore of the opinion that the proposal is not in conflict with the provincial policy statement. Looking at the official plan considerations, the subject property is designated shoreline residential on Schedule A and environmentally sensitive along the shoreline of Lake Ontario on Schedule B of the official plan. Policies specify that suitable servicing should be available on site and that appropriate authorities should provide comment towards any applications along the shoreline of Lake Ontario that would speak to the impacts of the shoreline and also consider the environmentally sensitive features, in this case, the identified woodlands, and also consider the servicing capability of the property. In this case, the owner had contacted the Cataraqui Region Conservation Authority prior to the application during their planning stages, and those discussions resulted in a confirmation from CRCA staff that the development would not be impacted by the regulated floodplain, as the floodplain itself fell closer to the shoreline down the embankment of the closer to the shoreline. The erosion hazard limit was also assessed, and CRCA staff are of the opinion that the 6-meter distance of the structure to the top of bank that is being proposed will satisfy their concerns and regulations. Township staff also reviewed the proposal from a drainage, road safety, and servicing perspective, and no concerns were raised, and the site was deemed suitable to support a sewage septic system, and the property was sufficient in size to support a well. Looking at the zoning bylaw considerations, the subject property is zoned shoreline residential. The key zoning bylaw provision to consider for this application is that no building shall be erected within 15 meters of the regulated floodplain or the top of bank. In this case, the top of bank applies to this application. So as mentioned, the CRCA visited the site and determined the regulated floodplain to be 76.2 meters, which meant that the proposed development would fall over 55 meters away from the floodplain. So there were no concerns in regard to the floodplain. However, the top of bank was determined to be further inland, closer to the development itself. And so that for that reason, CRCA basically looked at the development in regard to the erosion hazard limit. Then they determined that the proposed 6 meters from the top of bank for the house to be located 6 meters away from the top of bank was sufficient to meet their policies. And so they had no worries there. The proposal appears to conform to all other zoning provisions, and it is the opinion of staff that the proposed top of bank setback relief meets the intent of the zoning bylaw. Staff considered the proposal to be a desirable structure and use of land as it solidifies the identified residential use of the land. This proposal displays an efficient development of the property, and the new house is in keeping with the area, similar to other recent developments seen along the shoreline of Lake Ontario. Staff received one call from the neighbor to the west on the waterfront who sought some clarity on the proposal, but no concerns were raised, and we also didn't receive any public comment for the file. So for the reasons I've outlined, staff are recommending approval of this application as it seemed to comply with the 4 tests of the Planning Act. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Voss. Committee, do we have any questions with regard to this application or the presentation from Peter? Seeing no questions. At this time, I'll go to the public. Is there anyone in the audience, either for or against, who wishes to speak to this in person or by solicitor? And if you do so, if you could indicate using the hand sign so we can recognize you and bring you in. To the clerk, is there anyone indicating that wish to speak?
I don't see any. It looks like the applicant is here and one other individual that I have no hands raised though.
Okay. And I'll call it one more time. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this application? Seeing no one wishing to speak, I'll come back to the committee. We have a recommendation from staff to approve. What does the committee wish to do with this? I'll go to Nathan.
I move to receive the report and adopt the recommendation.
Move to receive and adopt. Do I have a seconder for that? I'll take Jim. Thank you. Any comments from the mover? Seconder? Anyone else? Seeing no one, then I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Any opposed? Motion is carried. And that was our only public meeting for this evening, unless there's something else from staff. Our next meeting is scheduled to be October the 4th. Okay. And with that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn. Go Ron, seconded by Nathan. Thank you. Any comment? I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. With that, that is carried and we are adjourned. Thank you very much to the folks who are planning on attending the special meeting of council and committee of whole. We will be doing that under a different link for Zoom, and that will be starting at approximately 6:30. Okay, then I will see you all in a few minutes.